Picture this scene for a second.
Okay.
It is just past sunrise. The air is still biting cold. The dew is really heavy on the ground. And there is a dog moving across an open field.
Setting the stage here. I like it.
Right. But she isn't just running. She's moving like the entire landscape belongs to her. Her head is low, sweeping back and forth. Her body is completely stretched taut, and her tail is perfectly level with her spine.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't out there for like a casual morning romp. She is running for data. She's actively processing the environment.
Yeah, pure focus.
Exactly. And then, mid-stride, she freezes. One paw is lifted, her nose is locked forward, and every single muscle in her body is rigid, just pointing at a single invisible spot in the tall grass.
It looks like a magic trick when you see it in person.
It really does. But you aren't looking at obedience training. You're looking at raw, unadulterated instinct executing the exact program it was built for.
It is genuinely one of the most breathtaking things you can witness in the field. I mean, you're watching a specialized athlete enter a state of complete flow where every ounce of their physical and neurological being just aligns with a singular purpose.
Yeah.
And to fully appreciate that, you have to realize that a few hours later, that exact same dog will dive into a freezing pond, swim out 50 yards to retrieve a downed bird, paddle straight back, shake off the water, and just look up at you like, okay, when does the next shift start?
Oh, absolutely. But I want to throw a massive contrast at you and to everyone listening right now, because this is where the story actually begins for most people.
Okay, let's hear it.
Picture that intensely driven, hyper-focused athlete later that same evening. She is curled up into a tiny ball, pressing her entire body weight affectionately against your leg on the couch.
Yep, the classic Velcro dog.
Exactly. Every time you get up to grab a glass of water, she is glued to your heel. She's watching the front door like it's a television screen. So today, our mission in this deep dive is to decode the actual underlying blueprint of the German Shorthaired Pointer, or GSP.
It's such a fascinating topic.
It really is. We're going through a stack of sources that highlight one inescapable fact. We aren't just talking about a pretty athletic companion here. We are looking at a highly engineered working system.
That framing is so essential. So many people see that sleek, aerodynamic body, the striking liver and white ticked coat, and then those intense amber eyes.
Yeah.
And they immediately think they are just looking at an active, good-looking pet.
Right. They just see a pretty dog.
Exactly. But when you dive into the history, you realize there's a deeply utilitarian reason for every single curve, muscle, and behavior in that animal. I mean, not a single trait is accidental.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Because getting a GSP just because you like the liver and white coat is like buying a Formula One car because you like the paint job.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Or, a military-grade tactical drone because the matte black finish looks cool.
Yeah.
You'd better know what's under the hood before you put the key in the ignition.
You really do.
So, to understand why this dog behaves the way it does in your living room, we have to inspect the factory where it was built. Walk us through mid-19th century Germany. What was the actual problem these breeders were trying to solve?
Well, the problem was just sheer inefficiency. Imagine being a hunter in 19th century Germany.
Okay.
You were dealing with incredibly varied terrain. Dense forests, open fields, freezing wetlands.
It's a lot of ground to cover.
A ton.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to hunt effectively, you essentially had to manage a specialized canine logistics team.
Wow.
Yeah, to find the bird, you needed to deploy a pointer. To fetch it out of a lake, you needed a water dog, like a retriever. And if you needed to track a wounded deer through a dense thicket, well, you had to bring a scent hound.
That sounds exhausting.
It was. Maintaining, feeding, and training a massive pack of highly specialized dogs was expensive, exhausting, and completely impractical for the average person.
So they decided to consolidate. They wanted a multi-tool.
Exactly.
The sources detail how breeders began crossing older pointing breeds with tracking hounds and agile water dogs. But I have to imagine the goal wasn't just to make a dog that could technically perform all three tasks.
No, not at all.
Right. They needed a dog with the biological battery life to do it from dawn until dusk. I mean, when you look at the physical blueprint of the GSP, it reads like an engineering schematic.
It really does.
That massive deep chest isn't for show. It's to house an oversized lung capacity for rapid oxygen exchange. The lean muscle provides a perfect balance of fast twitch speed and slow twitch endurance.
What's fascinating here is that the synthesis went way beyond just structure and stamina. Even that short coat you mentioned earlier, it serves a functional purpose.
Well, I just thought it was, genetic luck.
not at all. A thick, heavy coat would cause the dog to overheat while running 10 miles across a field, and a long coat would constantly snag on thorns and brush. So they needed a heat-dissipating aerodynamic outer layer.
That makes total sense.
Wow. But the physical synthesis is only half the battle. Breeders faced a massive psychological hurdle, too. They had to engineer a brain that could handle this immense, boundless physical drive without the dog becoming utterly uncontrollable.
Wait, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
If you deliberately engineer a dog to have the combined high-octane hunting drives of 3 different breeds, a pointer, a retriever, and a hound,
Right.
how in the world did those 19th century breeders keep this super dog from just catching a scent and running off into the Bavarian woods forever?
Right.
It just sounds like a recipe for a dog that completely ignores human beings.
It does. And honestly, that is the exact tension that defines this breed to this day. But the genius of the GSP isn't just its nose or its legs. It's a mechanism we can call the cooperation code.
The cooperation code, I like that.
Yeah. The breeders selectively prioritized an intense genetic desire for partnership. In the field, a dog that runs over the horizon and hunts for itself is completely useless to a human with a gun.
Obviously. You need them working with you.
Right. So they bred a dog that naturally stays tuned into its handler.
Right.
Even when a GSP is a quarter-mile away and navigating rough terrain, it is constantly checking in.
Wow.
It pauses, it looks back, it reads the human's body language.
Yeah.
That invisible tether, that instinct to stay connected to the human, is the only thing that made this canine multi-tool viable.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, especially how this translates to modern life. If you go online right now, you will find thousands of forum posts asking, is a GSP a good family dog?
Oh, I see those all the time.
Yeah, and owners always chime in about how cuddly they are, how they're total Velcro dogs, and people read that and assume it's just standard sweet pet affection. But they are completely missing the mechanism at play here. The dog isn't just hanging out in the living room. It is actively tracking you. It's basically maintaining a GPS lock on its human.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it. You are literally watching 19th century field wiring manifest in a 21st century kitchen. Out in the brush, that connection is a matter of survival and utility. Inside a house, that exact same genetic coding looks like a dog who absolutely refuses to let you go to the bathroom alone.
They just have to be there.
Yeah. So for you listening, if you have one of these dogs, you have to understand that you cannot separate the affectionate family companion from the intense working athlete. They are a bundled package. The affection is a byproduct of the partnership drive.
So this brings us to a massive collision of expectations.
Right, big time.
If this animal is genetically coded to work in tandem with a human all day long, processing scents, running miles, swimming, problem solving, what happens when that human works a 9-to-5 job and just wants to sit on the couch and watch TV?
You end up with a dog that gets slapped with the label hyper.
Ah, yeah.
If you research the GSP, hyperactive is the word you will see more than any other. But we really need to reframe that word. Hyper implies a chaotic, random, nervous energy.
Right, like they're just bouncing off the walls for no reason.
Exactly. But what you are actually witnessing in a destructive GSP isn't randomness. It is drive without a job.
Yeah.
It is unemployed energy looking for a place to go.
The sources hit on this so hard. A GSP that has had a real fulfilling morning, and we are talking about running off leash, engaging in scent work, retrieving, actually burning both physical and mental fuel.
Real work.
Yes, real work. That dog is incredibly calm and content by the afternoon. But if that same dog is left sitting around a house with nothing to do, that is when the pacing starts.
The jumping.
The chewing. The sources use the phrase creative destruction, which I think is just a polite way of saying the dog will systematically dismantle your sofa.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is really a matter of cognitive load. It breaks my heart when I hear about a GSP being labeled a bad dog or a spiteful dog because it chewed through drywall.
Yeah, they're not doing it to be mean.
You know, the dog isn't broken. It is a highly intelligent, unemployed workaholic. And here's the crucial distinction. You cannot tire this dog out with mere distance.
What do you mean?
Well, taking a GSP on a slow 2-mile stroll on a short leash through a concrete subdivision is not going to satisfy it.
Yeah?
It might stretch their legs a little, but it does absolutely nothing for their brain.
I always think of it like forcing an Olympic decathlete to sit in a windowless cubicle all day.
Oh, wow, yes.
Eventually, they aren't just going to sit there quietly. They're going to build a paper airplane, then a paper castle, and eventually they're going to dismantle the photocopier just for the mental stimulation.
That is painfully accurate.
Right. The physical exhaustion is only one piece of the puzzle. the GSP's brain relies on olfactory processing. Sniffing and analyzing scents takes massive amounts of neurological processing power for a dog. If you deny them that problem-solving outlet, a physically tired GSP will still be restless.
Absolutely.
But wait, if they need mental stimulation and they are incredibly smart, training must be a breeze, right?
You would assume so, but their intelligence is actually a massive trap for novice owners.
A trap. How so?
Because the GSP is so smart and motivated, they learn incredibly quickly. But that streak goes both ways. Their intelligence means they will spot and exploit your inconsistencies instantly.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if you are sloppy with your boundaries, or if you repeat a command 5 times before enforcing it, they don't fail to learn. They learn a shortcut you never intended to teach them. They learn exactly what they can get away with.
They game the system.
Totally.
And underneath all that trainability and intelligence is a massive, ingrained prey drive. Birds, squirrels, rabbits, livestock.
If it moves quickly or smells interesting, a GSP's brain just gets flooded with dopamine.
There was a quote in our research stack that perfectly captures this mechanism. It said, "The nose may hear the world before the ears hear the owner."
This raises an important question about the clash between obedience and instinct.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you are out for a walk, a rabbit bolts across the path, and your GSP lunges, completely ignoring your command to stop.
Right, which happens all the time.
Exactly. And human beings naturally take that personally. We think, he is being defiant, he's being stubborn, he's disrespecting me. But it isn't defiance.
No.
When that dog smells prey, its brain literally deprioritizes the sound of your voice. You are fighting centuries of highly selective breeding that demands the dog execute its program.
Which means that just because your dog is an absolute angel off-leash in your secure, fenced-in backyard, you have zero guarantee they will come back to you in an open park when a deer runs by.
Zero guarantee.
Recall and off-leash reliability require gradual, intense work with long lines and highly controlled areas. So what does this all mean for a regular person listening right now?
That is the big question.
Yeah. If their instinct to chase is that overwhelming and their need for a job is that high, how does a 19th century purpose-built machine safely exist in a normal neighborhood with kids, cats, and, maybe small apartments?
That is the ultimate test of modern dog ownership. Yeah. Let's run that 19th century blueprint through some 21st century realities, starting with children. GSPs are famously loving and can become deeply affectionate family members. But you cannot ignore their physical reality. They are large, bouncy, kinetic animals.
Very kinetic.
An exuberant greeting from a young GSP can accidentally knock a toddler flying across the room. It isn't malice, it's just sheer physics and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You have to actively teach them an off switch.
Excited simply cannot be their default state indoors. And what about other pets? The sources were very clear that while GSPs usually love playing with other dogs, their play style is intense.
Oh, yeah. They play like full contact athletes, which can completely overwhelm an older or smaller dog.
And cats. I feel like that is a completely different level of risk.
Cats trigger that exact prey drive we were just discussing. The sudden movement of a feline fleeing is the exact stimulus the dog was bred to chase.
So can they live with a cat?
Some can, but it requires incredibly careful, gradual introductions. And more importantly, it requires lifelong management. You don't just introduce them once, see them act calmly, and assume the prey drive has been permanently deactivated. It is a biological switch that is always waiting to be flipped.
Let's talk about apartments too, because I hear this debate constantly. People always assume that a large, athletic dog needs a massive house with a sprawling yard.
Right.
But the sources suggest it isn't about the square footage at all. It is entirely about the lifestyle of the owner.
A massive house with a big yard often just becomes a prison for a dog if the owner never engages with them. An apartment works perfectly fine for a GSP under one non-negotiable condition.
Which is?
The dog must get real, structured outdoor exercise and mental stimulation every single day. If you were taking them hiking, running them on a long line, doing scent games, the walls of your apartment basically just serve as a giant, comfortable dog bed where they sleep between jobs.
That makes a lot of sense.
The physical living space matters exponentially less than what happens outside of it.
The flip side of that lifestyle, though, is alone time. If you take this highly driven, partnership-focused dog, give it zero exercise, and lock it in an apartment alone for 9 hours while you go to work.
Oh, boy.
While we covered this, they will invent a job, they will bark, they will panic, they will chew. You have to build up their tolerance for alone time very gradually.
Absolutely.
But I want to pivot to a huge observation from our research regarding the physical maintenance of this dog. Because the biggest trap I saw in the sources is the myth of the low-maintenance short coat.
It is a massive misunderstanding. People equate a short coat with zero grooming. First of all, they shed.
Do they ever?
It isn't long hair, but they drop these stiff little needle-like hairs everywhere.
Yeah.
But the real maintenance isn't brushing, it's inspection.
Right.
Because they are outdoor athletes with a coat that lacks a thick undercoat,
Right.
they have very little physical protection from the environment. If you run them through the brush, you have to constantly check their skin for cuts, burrs, and ticks. And their paw pads take a massive beating on rough terrain.
And because they don't have that heavy undercoat, their weather insulation is surprisingly poor. If they get wet in the cold, that water hits their skin almost immediately.
Yeah, you actually have to plan for extreme heat and extreme cold.
Plus, they love water, and they have those heavy, floppy ears. That traps moisture in the ear canal, making mandatory ear cleanings a weekly reality just to prevent bacterial infections.
Yep, ear infections are so common.
But the sources also pointed out some serious structural health risks that owners need to understand, particularly bloat and joint issues. Let's explain why that happens.
Let's start with bloat, formerly known as gastric dilatation volvulus.
Okay.
We talked earlier about that massive deep chest cavity engineered for lung capacity. The anatomical downside of that deep chest is that it leaves room for the dog's stomach to swing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if a GSP eats a massive meal or gulps down a lot of water and then immediately runs or plays vigorously, that stomach can literally flip over on itself, trapping gas and cutting off blood supply.
That sounds terrifying.
It is a fatal emergency. Owners absolutely have to enforce strict rest periods around meals.
And what about the joint health? The sources mention being incredibly careful during the puppy stage.
That comes down to growth plates. A puppy's bones aren't fully hardened. The ends of their bones consist of soft cartilage that allows them to grow.
Right.
If you take a 6-month-old GSP puppy and force them to run 3 miles on hard asphalt, the repetitive impact damages those soft growth plates, which can lead to lifelong skeletal deformities and arthritis.
So no forced running for puppies.
Exactly. You have to wait until they're physically mature, usually around 18 months to 2 years, before you start putting them through rigorous forced athletic conditioning.
So when you synthesize all of this, the mental demands, the physical requirements, the anatomical risks, what it really tells you is that owning a German Shorthaired Pointer isn't a passive hobby.
Not at all.
You aren't just reacting to problems as they happen. It requires preventative maintenance. You have to see the patterns before they become destructive habits.
Which perfectly defines the ideal owner. I mean, this breed is absolutely not the right fit for someone looking for a background pet to occasionally toss a ball to.
Definitely not.
But if you're a person who actively wants a daily training partnership, someone who doesn't mind mud in the house, someone who finds joy in managing and channeling a dog's prey drive rather than trying to, fix it or suppress it, living with a GSP is profoundly rewarding.
They will force you to become a more active, engaged human being.
They really will.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the blueprint of the German Shorthaired Pointer, we've uncovered a brilliant, water-ready, scent-driven athlete that is genetically tethered to its people. And the reality is, successfully raising one of these multi-tools doesn't start when they are 2 years old. It starts on day 1. You are managing growth plates, teaching bite inhibition to a puppy that wants to put everything in its mouth, and laying down the foundation of early socialization long before those massive hunting drives fully awaken.
I want to leave everyone listening with one final, lingering thought to mull over.
Please do.
We spent centuries brilliantly engineering these specific dogs to perform highly demanding, dangerous, and exhausting jobs alongside us in the wild. Now that those jobs have largely vanished from our modern, sanitized domestic lives, we have to ask ourselves a tough question. Are we the ones who need to radically adapt our lifestyles to our dogs, rather than unfairly expecting them to seamlessly adapt to our living rooms?
If you are going to buy the specialized drone, you can't be angry when it refuses to just sit quietly on a shelf. You have to take it outside and let it fly.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today. For you listening, the next time you are out in a park and you see a dog freeze mid-stride locked on a hidden scent in the grass, you'll know exactly the centuries of engineering that went into that one perfect moment. Until our next deep dive, take care.